He's the area vice president for Central Eastern Europe at Salesforce, so we're going to talk about a lot about trends. I never say right your name, your first name, right? Yeah. So, but please come up, okay? So, thanks very much for being here with us.
Thank you, Dimitris.
Yeah, we can. We can sit here. So, pronounce your name, please.
It's Hrvoje Supic. I'm Croatian, living in Dublin, working for Salesforce.
So now you understand why I cannot say his name, okay? But anyway, so I will try. So what I wanted to talk about a little bit, it's, over the last, first of all, let's start with that. Over the last 2 years, the conversation moved very quickly, really, really quickly, from generative AI to agentic AI. How would you explain the difference, especially for financial institutions trying to understand what the next phase of AI adoption reality looks like?
So, Dimitris, first of all, thank you for having us here and giving an opportunity to sponsor this conference. So, getting to your question, let me take one step back, actually. People forget that we do predictive AI already for the last 10 years or more, and this is practically already something that is embedded in what we do every day, we as Salesforce with our customers, and I'm pretty sure all of you in different forms. Then we were all amazed with the generative AI over the last 2 or 3 years. Some companies deployed in different versions, and now we are talking about agents that will actually do the work. So when we talk about agentic enterprise, agentic transformation, we're talking about the work that is being done by AI.
Okay. So going to Salesforce, you have been working very closely with banks, insurance, financial organizations globally. What are the biggest priorities you currently see from financial institutions when it comes to AI investments and digital transformation? What do you see when you talk to?
So we've been really successful, extremely successful with financial services, insurance, banking, fintech, brokers, all kind of financial services companies. And as Mohana mentioned, we probably have the only global vendor that has fully blown industry solution for financial services, and this is the reason why we have so much success. I don't think that actually objectives has changed much. CEOs wants growth and efficiency. Marketing wants more personalization. CIOs want more simplicity. Risk management wants more governance. So things don't really change.
Because of AI?
In terms of objectives.
Okay, what changed?
I would say so AI is here to address all of these things in hopefully better way. And now there is this big rush to actually not to miss the train. And we really feel in every day really huge pressure from senior leadership, key stakeholders in banks to see how the banks will get on this journey to become agentic enterprise. Now, getting into more details. So I mentioned already, predictive AI is already embedded in a lot of things we do with different type of risk assessment, churn risks, collection risks, and many different things. Over the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen a lot of use cases with doing summaries of the accounts, summaries for the meetings, summaries after the meetings, a lot of these things and use cases to support employees in their everyday work. When it comes to agents, we see actually more and more agents coming for internal use cases for, I would say, quite reasonable, quite obvious reasons. And we are still in very early stages of that. And finally, there are already a number of references that we have, and actually this is picking up quite fast, external agents that are that are exposed to the customer as a customer service, typical use cases about trivial customer requests. There are use cases, there are agents, collection agents also exposed to external customers. And finally, we see banks deploying agents in loan applications. These are areas that we currently see this.
These are the use cases that you see?
Yes. I also have to say that I think that we are still very early in the process. and we're going to see way more of it.
In which areas do you believe?
Okay, this is a very good question. So, okay, me working for
look,
sales.
Look, if you answer to me, we don't know, I will
No,
take
no, no,
that
no.
for a good
So-
answer. Believe me about that.
So I believe that, so customer service seems to be something that is quite obvious. Customer service is usually quite heavy in headcounts, etc. And there are customers expecting to significantly improve deflection rates with customer service. And this is usually the first target. And this is happening. We have actually fintechs and banks achieving even 70% of deflection rate using AI. This is happening. But in this area, so actually, last week I was in the meeting with quite a big bank talking about everything. And okay, this is where I'm a little bit puzzled because I can't say for sure what. But when it comes to CRM, customer service, marketing, I think that marketing and personalization, we already have pilots where we are deploying agents, and this is kind of low-hanging fruit. Sales, yes. Other than that, can't really comment. I'm not into this stuff. I'm not into transactions. But when it comes to creating customer experience and customer journeys, yes, absolutely.
What are from the implementations that you've done, what are the lessons that you see, about how to use agentic AI? The lessons, meaning the issues that we've seen.
Okay,
we talked before about, that perhaps the people's culture is a problem in some organizations, that the people don't take it so good.
Well, very good question. And I've heard some of the answers already. Actually, everybody's talking about the same thing. So I personally think that we are now, let's say, 3 years after we've seen ChatGPT, after the wave one of attempts of companies to do something. And these attempts were painful. I can clearly say for practically everyone, including us. And there are some very clear now lessons learned that I think that these lessons will, if you don't have the right context and the right data, any attempt to do anything meaningful is going to fail. Applications don't go anywhere. Applications are there to stay and do the work. So if you don't have agents embedded in your application infrastructure and stack, you won't go far. When it comes to governance, compliance, security, everything that applies to people applies to agents. You have to have the same robust infrastructure that banks build over the decades that will apply with very hard guardrails for the agents as well. Then I think that the whole industry is also learning that programming agents in natural language doesn't mean it's easy. And a lot of different things that we are learning as industry. Okay, as I said, we are at the end of this wave one. I think that conversations that we have at the moment are way more mature, way more conscious, and also in terms of expectations, having in mind those few things that I mentioned.
Okay, we're talking about banking sector and the whole financial sector, which is really, really highly regulated.
Yes.
And you have to balance a little bit about with automation and autonomy with compliance. How can organizations do that balance?
I wouldn't even say that this is a balance. Compliance is a must.
Okay.
So you just have to stick to it. And so I already mentioned, but there is now one more thing that is becoming super important. This is data. Because, yes, banks are compliant, processes, maturity, going on for decades. But now we are talking about context and getting all this data to first unlock the data, to bring it from the different systems, then to have some meaningful data, connected data, and then this data to be activated. You have to make sure that actually this whole data, it works. It's not just bringing data from one system to another. It's about making sure that you have this lineage of data, that you know that you can really trust this data, that the data is related to the right records. So there is a whole new, I would say, area to make sure that your data and your context is compliant. Because if it's not, agents don't have a chance. So I think that, so as
compliance
I said,
will be also very useful for the banks, you mean, to have better to provide better customer experience.
So we are talking about, as I said, data foundations. I think that these days it's becoming really clear if you are into agentic project, first fix data foundations. You have to have applications, they are not going anywhere. You have to then embed agentic layer that will, last year we were talking about one agent doing everything. Today it's clear that we're going to have multiple agents going around and we need to orchestrate them all, etc. And then finally we need to have the engagement layer. How are we going to expose all of this to employees and the customers? But it's a then longer story.
I have a question. Okay, I was thinking now, okay, if we have the same conversation in, let's say, 2 or 3 years, or 2030 from now, what do you think will surprise us the most about the role of agentic AI in the banking and financial services? What will be the big surprise in the next coming years?
Well, Dimitris, if I would know, then it
you
would
know
not be a
that,
surprise.
Yeah, okay. What do you believe? Okay. What your instinct says, your gut.
You know, there is this thing how we underestimate the future, but then overestimate the past, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you look
but
back.
sometimes we are hyping the present.
I think we're going to see a lot of change. Look, I think that we have pretty good shape of where technology is heading.
But for the next 5 years, I would say no more.
Yeah, look, there is massive investments of all the vendors, and it's getting into shape. But let's say, what will be customer reaction, customer adoption? How different generations will react? I personally, going through my personal experience interacting with AI, and I have my thoughts. I see different generations. So I think that
I'm not so sure, for example, that everybody was expecting the rise of the smartphone 10 years ago. That high of rise, okay? How generations, older generations, have the iPhone, the smartphone in their life. So perhaps the same will go with agentic AI or AI in general.
Well, you can argue also that, what is the killing application for generative AI in general? So, we have now some companies raising, and you can argue that this is software development is the killing application for AI. Will we tomorrow see something totally new that we are currently not even aware?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know. This is why it's going to be a
Yeah,
surprise.
that's why it's interesting, because with ChatGPT, nobody was expecting ChatGPT back in 2022, to be honest about that. Not even, to be honest now, but we've seen the signs, but nobody really understood what was coming. It's perhaps.
I remember this very well because it was early 2023, and 3 months before that, I was reading an article about the things that to come, and I had absolutely no idea what they were talking about.
What they're saying, so what do you expect? Is it something that you believe that will happen and will surprise everybody?
You know what? It's a hard question. I think that human reaction and adoption will be bigger surprise than technology itself.
So the answer is that how the humans will react to all these changes, perhaps that's the surprise that will get us. Perhaps it will be positive, hopefully positive and not negative, but that has a lot to do with.
But I think it's positive. People,
yeah.
This would be a long conversation now, but throughout my career, I've been through a lot of technology changes, which actually changed behavior of what we do, etc. So,
and what do we were expecting back then? Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Ένα χειροκρότημα παρακαλώ.
It's been a pleasure.
It was a pleasure, yeah.